Hello and welcome to Who Corner to Corner podcast. My name's Jeff. I'm sure you know that by now. And as always, I'm joined by my good friend and my co-host Paul.
Yes, that's me. Hello, which I'm sure you also know by now.
I'm sure they do by now, yes.
Unless it's a first-time listener, in which case, hello and welcome, new listeners.
Yes.
Hey!
So we're not alone tonight again, which is something that happens quite often for us in our little corner of the Whoniverse. So we're joined by a man whose face you may not recognise, but whose work you no doubt will. And if you're watching / listening to this on YouTube, you'll see some of it perching behind Paul on his shelf there. But we've got Mr. Lee Binding with us this evening, the man behind many amazing Doctor Who artworks, including all of those on the collection sets that I'm sure you're all aware of. Good evening, Lee.
Good evening. It's very nice to be here. I'm going to say, I mean, you've had Chris Chibnall on here. That is one corner. I am in the corner way up there. I'm like behind the bins kind of like level of corner. So it is lovely to be here in esteemed company.
Thank you very much for joining us. But now everyone is, all equal to us.
Everyone gets an equal corner. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if anybody's behind the bins, it's me, probably, actually.
Yeah. But we like to put.
I did see some baseball slices down here, so I'm very happy. It's all good.
So we've got quite a few questions for you tonight. Questions from us and from some of our listeners and our followers as well. So we want to obviously talk about your Doctor Who work, but we want to find out a bit more about you as well and your background, your interests and stuff like that. So I'm going to kick it off with what I always say is the big one, but it's how did you discover Doctor Who?
This is my mother's fault. And she's responsible for a great many ills in my life. Like, she got me into Girls Aloud. She was very insistent I liked them. And at the time, I was like, are you sure? And she was like, just keep listening. It's good. It's good. And she was absolutely right. That's good.
Yeah, she's not wrong.
And a similar sort of thing with... No, I know. She knows quality. And similar sort of thing with Doctor Who, where I think I was about 6 years old. And she just went, she called me, because I was in my bedroom, she called me downstairs and went, Doctor Who's on, you like that? And I went,
I told you you'd like it.
Do I?
Do I?
That's news to me.
So I was called downstairs, and at the end of it, I was like, yes, I do like this. So that's how I got introduced into Doctor Who, basically. And clearly I've never looked back since, because it's awesome. And I love it.
So in many ways... then us fans, we owe your mum a huge amount, really, because if she hadn't told you that you liked it,
I will tell her that. There have been brief moments where when I've got a friend Charlie who he came to my wedding and met my mother, and he's been to the BFI, and the BFI is a wonderful thing. We'll probably touch on that later. But every now and again, because you get little postcards of the artwork. And every now and again, someone will come up to ask me to sign it, which is really sweet, and I love that. And Charlie was telling my mother about this. My mother, I should have a Brummie accent, by the way. I'm from sort of like Wolverhampton, but I'm the only one in the family who doesn't. And so she's just like, "Oh, my son's really famous, is he?" And it's like, bless you, Julie Binding, bless you. No, but yes, but no. So yeah, she's really kind of happy that I do all this kind of stuff. However, she used to say, "Turn that TV off; it'll never get you a job." And now look, so there's give and take on that one.
yeah.
Did she? Did your mum tell you that if there was any other TV science fiction that you would like?
No, I think from that point on, I sort of like found my own way with it, and it was kind of like my first memory, I think. Looking back at it, I mean, the episode that she called me down on was Kinder. So you can imagine that as a 6-year-old kid, just sort of like, what the hell? But, love it. But
the wheel.
I genuinely think she had exactly, and just sort of like I think it still lives in my DNA actually. So it was kind of nice doing that season when I did the collection, because it was sort of like something primally or like the Mara, just like already there and being part of me. But yeah, sort of like growing up around that time, it was when science fiction was really kind of at a height, and it dipped again in the sort of 90s, 2000s. It's back up again now, which is glorious. But yeah, you had that sort of like, there was so much stuff of it around, because Star Wars had, you know, the aftershock of that was still going. And you got Buck Rogers and, you know, so many other little things. And then you could discover the stuff from the 60s which were being repeated. And, you know, Lost in Space was on Channel 4 and all that kind of stuff. It was wonderful. So, yes. So many good sci-fi shows. I love them.
Yeah, there was good stuff. Yeah, I think Blake 7 was coming
Time Tunnel as well. Irwin Allen.
Yeah. And repeats of Space 1999, stuff like that. It was all kind of going around. Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, even.
I never got into that, and I don't know why.
Did you not?
I think it was. Yeah, it must have been ITV, and I don't know. One of my friends always said, "Oh, we don't do the third channel," and I genuinely don't think we were that household. Was it on ITV? Because I think it was just in the dip when I wasn't watching TV as much, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it was like a lot of those things on ITV, because it was all. Yeah, it was all regional, wasn't it? So different ITV regions would show different things. So some would do like Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, others would do Space 99, some would do Man from Atlantis or Lost in Space, all of that kind of thing. And it was weird because where I lived, my mate, who was only a couple of streets away, he used to get Yorkshire TV, whereas I used to get Tyne Tees, and Tyne Tees never had anything decent on it. There was only ever Crossroads and stuff like that. Whereas he used to get Spider-Man, he used to get Thunderbird, Stingray, Batman, all of that kind of stuff. So I used to spend a lot more time around his house than I ever did around mine. So
this is a conversation that the kids of today will never
have no idea, Jeff. They have no bleeding idea how good they got it these days. It's all an iPlayer, ain't it? You know what I mean?
What do you mean?
In fact, I remember because I briefly studied in Peterborough, and you could turn your aerial one way and get Leicester stuff, and that was all. There was genuinely like murders and stuff like that, and you turn it the other way and you get the Fens, and it'd be like, they found a dolphin. It's like, okay, good, enjoy
your dolphin. Obviously, the joy of it.
So, was your mum a Doctor Who fan?
No, and none of my family were, and this is not this isn't a cry for help or anything like that. Yeah,
let it all out. Let it all out.
I'm gonna treat this as a therapy session.
So
when hopefully we'll come out of this better people. When Five Doctors was being shown, I was. They were so sick of me talking about Doctor Who at that point. They were just like, "Okay, you go and watch it in the kitchen." And at that point there, we've got a black and white portable TV, and we're in a council house, and it was like, you know, it was 1983. There was no heating. I literally had the oven door open, just sort of like freezing like this. And they were in the other room next to an open fire watching the A-Team. And I was so excited. I knew that this was going to be an amazing episode. And so I just sort of like keep opening the door going, "Oh my God, there's a Dalek." And they just go, "Yeah, whatever." And I close it and go, "Okay, all right." And they go back and, "Oh my God, K9's turned up." And they go, "Yeah, just keep the door shut." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So I'm aware of how every now and again Doctor Who fandom is a sort of like weirdly, it used to be a really sort of like lonely place, if that makes sense. So when you found your tribe, it was really, really nice to do that. So anyway,
and it's a lot easier to do that today, isn't it?
It was special back in those days.
So, and sort of like the physical meetups as well. They were sort of like even more so, because, you know, now you can find those little pockets of fandom and sort of like do little meetups and talk to people and all that kind of thing. But without the internet, it was very much kind of like you had the Tavern, which was a pub in London that you go to. I think it was the last Thursday of every month or something. And just sort of being in a physical space with Doctor Who fans where you could talk about this kind of stuff was groundbreaking. And local groups as well, which were wonderful. And, you know, eventually you sort of like, I'm so glad it's got more and more insidious and sort of like in everyday life, if that makes sense. So, you know,
when you say something,
talk about Doctor Who every day.
And when you talk about it like that, it's so, you know, to think about it, it's so alien, really, in a way, to think, God, you know, it wasn't that long ago, was it, that you're talking about? And to think, you know, getting together with people to talk about something that you liked was pretty difficult and quite rare as well.
Pre-internet,
yeah, exactly like you say, Lee. Yeah, pre-internet, and so yeah, we have it so good these days.
So good. The youngsters
these
days,
ways.
They have it so good.
They got you youngsters.
Yeah, they'll never know, will they?
They'll never know. No, but I remember because I used to go down to I used to be in a part of a short story group in Brighton, and I lived in Epsom at the time, and they met on a Friday, always down in Brighton or down somewhere like that. And I didn't drive at the time, so I always had to get the train, and I'd always be coming back at like 1 o'clock in the morning. The last train home to Clapham, and then across from there, and it was an absolute nightmare. But for a few hours, just when I was in Brighton, sit around the pub, talking with the guys, and we talk about all kinds of sci-fi stuff as well. And it was like the guys from Interzone would be there. You remember that? If you remember that magazine for short stories and science fiction and stuff like that. But it was a real good vibe. But but it was, and I just think now if we'd done that on Twitter or something like that, it would still be a good vibe. But actually, it wouldn't be quite the same as being in the same room as people just talking, Star Trek and Doctor Who and Star Wars and stuff. Just general sci-fi type stuff. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I think
meeting up
for
with
me,
people
I genuinely never take it for granted now, because I briefly touched on the BFI earlier, and when if anybody gets a chance to come and do it, basically the screening is lovely and you get to see all the features and all that kind of stuff, but it attracts so many wonderful, exciting sort of like parts of fandom, and it all in one room together. And like I say, I will never take that for granted, because I remember that sort of like that dark time where those things didn't exist. But now it's honestly, even if you can just get to the pub afterwards and we're just in the bar, there's so many lovely people just chatting and geeking out. It's great.
We chatted to another fan a couple of weeks ago. It was Jack Alexander, who runs an awful lot of running podcasts, and he said I think it was Jack, wasn't it, Paul? He said exactly the same thing, Lee.
Was it Joe?
It's great to go and see. Maybe it was Joe Ford from Hampstead or Penrith, one of them.
I thought it was Joe, but you might be right.
Yeah, but they said, it's great to see the episode, but it's just to meet up with everyone afterwards, and that's the best part. And I said to you, Paul, we must go to one at some point.
We must, Jeff. We certainly will one of these days. As soon as I can get out of my chair, I will do exactly that. Yeah.
And if we can get tickets, they're like gold dust, aren't
they? The other thing, isn't it?
People go mental trying to get them. But I went to Comic-Con in London, I think it was February last year, and met up with a bunch of the guys that I talked with on Twitter. Paul and I in a chat group with them, and we'd never met in person, but we talk almost every day, and it was just like, I only saw you last week, even though actually it was just talking in the chat group. And it was fantastic to get together like that and see other people. I recognise you, and from Twitter and stuff. So yeah, like you say, it really is nice to kind of get together like that and kind of just geek out together. It's lovely.
Which is what we're doing now, really. I mean,
it is,
This is good.
One of the reasons we started this, really, yeah. So what led to your interest in graphic arts and design work and
stuff like that?
I've only found out recently what that is, after all this time. Basically, because I'm a little bit neurodivergent, it is the only time and place where I feel calm. And the world can be very crazy and all that kind of thing, but you stick me in front of a lot of images where I'm going to fit that together with that one, or I'm going, oh, that would be a great cover, oh, that would work with that, all that kind of thing, and then slowly crafting something together. It just switches off everything else in my brain, and just this pure drive to get something out there and pleasing to me, and hopefully pleasing to other people as well, is where that came from. And I've only recently sort of like discovered that was the case in the process. So I think I dabbled with it when I was a teenager, and I sort of got into it, and I studied engineering at university and absolutely hated it. But in the background, because I bought a computer to do my degree, it came with Photoshop, and so that kind of like messing around with stuff as a teenager then became sort of like, oh, this is what I do at night when I'm not doing my revision or whatever. And then slowly you can sort of like take that and then sort of spin it out into freelance, and then from freelance you get more gigs, and then all that kind of stuff. And that's where it all came from. I think it's my happy place, and it's so happy for me, I suppose, that happy place is the one that sort of like intersects with another part of my life, which is Doctor Who. And so both of those things sort of like coming together and being part of my life is I'm still agog that is what I get to do. So so that's how I got into it.
That's brilliant. I mean, getting to do something that you love for your job is, it's just the best, isn't it? Last week, actually, sorry, it was earlier this week. It is. Well, I went to see Schwarzenegger talk in London, and he's got his book out.
I meant to ask you about that.
It was really quite inspiring and positive and stuff, and like the career, the life he's had is insane. But he said 78% of people are unhappy in their jobs, and they're just working to get their retirement plan or their dental or this sort of stuff. So 22% of people are happy, and you could kind of hear it and feel it in the room, like mind's blowing at that statistic. So I run a little video company, Lee, and when I discovered filmmaking and stuff through Terminator 2 when I was like younger than I should have been when I watched it, I was like, oh, this is what I want to do, and that's really the only thing I'm good at. And if that hadn't worked out for me, I don't know what I'd have done. But to get to do that daily, that's amazing. You're not really working a day in your life in theory, because you love it so much. So yeah, it's very special you get to do something that you love, and like you combine it with your love of Doctor Who as well. I think that's amazing. So that's
absolutely.
My little
That was quite beautiful.
Good fact.
Yeah. So what was your first kind of big break or professional job, or how did you turn it from, like you mentioned, kind of going freelance? What was the journey that you took that got you there?
I'll do it quick fire. So
bullet points. Yeah.
Because Gary Russell knew that I was kind of into graphic design. Lovely Gary Russell. Gary Russell of this parish, love him. He said, do you want to do some Big Finish covers? And I went, yeah, sure, let's give this a go. And I did the Sarah Jane Smith range for them. That was my first thing that I did. Then I sort of, he said, do you want to do a main cover range? I went, yes. Unfortunately, I was obsessed with Dave McKean back then, who did all the same Sandman covers. It was just sort of like gorgeous sort of layering and techniques and all that kind of stuff. But I was crap at it. I was understanding Photoshop in the way that it could do those kind of things, but like getting those ideas and then sticking on something else. It was a bad call. It was a bad call. So my first cover is absolutely terrible. It's the Sandman, and it's just the worst murky, nasty cover ever. So that was bad. And then slowly I did some more. I did some Eighth Doctor stuff. At that point there, James Goss of this parish, lovely man, he was working on the BBC website, and he said, look, I'm gonna send you a bit of paper. And it was an NDA. It was the first NDA that I'd ever signed. And I did. And he said, could you just do some pictures for this website? And I went, sure. And he sent me, and this is mind blowing. This is before the episode had aired, and he sent me all the assets for The End of the World. And I was looking at all these tree people and going and the memes and the ones with the wicker basket things, and he went, can you just do that as a website image for me? And my mind was just blowing. So I did that for a while, and then they picked up some of the images that I did for that, and that became sort of like part of the BBC, because I don't know whether you know, sort of like there's so much BBC budget that is apportioned to the start of a series that they go, oh yeah, we're going to do big launch for this kind of thing, and they never figure out that Doctor Who always needs those bespoke little things that sort of like keep going, and fans want all that kind of stuff. So it got towards the end of the series, and BBC Publicity weren't doing anything. So they just sort of stole all our artwork and just went, oh, yeah, we're going to send this out now. So there's a shot of the hologram version of Eccleston in front of the TARDIS console, and that was mine. And BBC Publicity went, yoink! And then that got me noticed by other people. Basically, I was working with them. I ended up doing the Iconics for series 6 and series 6. I did some stuff for them, and then series 6B was solely me, and then Day of the Doctor, and then the collection. I think that's everything. I think there's probably more. There's book covers and stuff like that, but
your list of credits, I was looking it up the other night. From DVDs, books, Blu-rays, audios, etc.
It's a lot of pages, isn't it?
It's incredible what I wrote here.
It's a lot.
And so, do you know how many of each that you did?
Ooh.
I don't, but I wondered if you remember that.
You probably count them there, Jeff.
I genuinely don't. Because there is, every now and again, there's a lovely thing on Twitter or Instagram or something like that. Someone tagged me in a post and just go, and here's the artwork for this from Lee Binding. And I go, I don't remember this at all.
It's got to that stage now in your career,
isn't it? It's lovely to see it again, you know. Yeah. I mean, I'm fortunate that it's gone on long enough now that my memory's gone. So, yeah.
You know, I had that earlier this week. A guy emailed and he said, you filmed my band in Southampton in 2005 and the DVD you gave me has stopped working. Do you have a copy of it by any chance?
Warranty's up, mate.
Yeah. And I read the thing. I thought, I have no memory of that band. No memory at all. I remember the headliners that I shot because I was quite good friends with them. I thought, no, it's gone. So yeah, a bit like you there, Lee. You have this long body of
long
stuff.
And illustrious career.
Yeah. But yeah, I read through that list of stuff that you've done. I thought, I've read that book, I've read that. Yeah, got that on my shelf, and you know, it's genuinely
it kind of is like that, isn't it?
Impressive list of stuff.
It's massive.
You know, So, how do you start with an image? You know, for someone, do you sketch stuff? Do you draw it, or do you get? You know, what kind of level of input do you get? Do you get given a shopping list of stuff, or you know, photos, and how's it all?
How does it work, Lee? Talk us through the process.
How does it work? Let's do that. Okay, so for example, with the collection, I was given a shopping list for the first cover. But the glorious thing, and often one of the assets where they will get me in, is it will be some poor person at the BBC who's gone, we need a DVD cover, we need a collection or something like this. And God love them, they are employed to be marketing. They are not employed to be a Doctor Who fan. You know, it's kind of like, we need to sell this thing into X and things. And they've got that to deal with. So what they do is, if they've got a designer who goes, oh yeah, we need no, that's the wrong image of the master. We need this one. We need this, and this. If you've got a designer you can trust, who can then just sort of come in and go, yeah, I'm going to do this. You give me a shopping list, what you want to sell on this. And more than often than not, I end up feeding back on it in a kind of like, are you sure? Because that's a more important moment than what I think you're thinking of there. So then we sort of like have a bit back and forth and whatever. But often that was with the case of the first collection. They said, we kind of want something like this, and they gave me a description of it, and we went back and forth a little bit, and I did about 6 or 7 designs, and they went, brilliant, love it, that's the one, do that. And I was doing, because the first one that came out was 12, I was also doing 19 at the same time, because they were sort of like testing the water with the two of them, like these 2 seasons are often seen as the very good ones. Not my words. If these don't sell, then we'll pull the range. And honestly, there was such a scary couple of moments at the beginning where like, will this ever fly? Will this be a collection? Will this be a collection? And thankfully the first couple sold out, so we were like, okay, off we go, let's do some more. So with going back to your original question, with those there was a shopping list, but now we're at a point where I'm let loose. I get to do it. So for example, this week I saw on someone's Twitter stream just a picture that they got from an episode, and they just commented on it, and I went, oh my god, that would be the cover for X season. And so I've gone off and I've done that, and just sort of like I can't help myself. Also at that point there, I've got about 6 or 7 on the go over there as well. So they're all in various phases of being finished and whatever. So there's that. But it depends on who I'm working for. If it's the book company, they tend to sort of like be a little bit more sort of hands-on. If it's the Blu-ray people, they just let me go for it. So I think. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it
I
does.
Get inspired. I don't care.
I'm going to leap ahead. Sorry, Paul. There's a question from Chris Russ1 on Twitter, and you sort of slightly answered it there, Lee. He said, do you work on collection images in advance, even if you don't know what set is next? So I guess you kind of do a little bit.
So you kind of prepared. I mean, you know that we're going to go through all the seasons at some point, don't you? So
yeah.
I hope so. I really hope so.
Hopefully, yeah.
Well, God, that's amazing to think that if it hadn't sold, it would have, stopped before it even started. Really, yeah.
I know. I mean, I'm still in a kind of like it is a strange world where we're in a tipping point for physical media, and yet the physical media becomes a sort of collection piece. So there is a thing where people will ask me online, and it's very nice of them. They say, "Can you give me the artwork for the booklet? Can you give me the artwork for the back or anything like that?" And it's, for me personally, it's part of that. It's one of the selling points. It's not it's not something that you should sort of take away from that, because people are paying a lot of money for these things that go, I want to invest in this, and bless them, a couple of people have said I only buy this for the artwork, and so taking that away from that and going, here it is, it's on Twitter, it kind of like diminishes it slightly. So I don't want to be that kind of like, I'm hoarding all my things, but it's like I want to make sure that everybody's got best value for money, if that makes sense. So
yes. That's good.
I think you're right. I mean, you're right. It is, because I think physical media has to sell itself harder in some ways. Because it's just so easy and convenient just to go down the streaming route. But as we know, with certain things going on right now, there's no guarantee that things will ever be on media or even stay there once they are on. So to have it physically in your hands, and with beautiful booklets and with everything that gives it, was it Chris Chapman says, VAM, isn't it? The value added material. When this stuff has been hand produced by someone who is an absolute master of their craft, then that value becomes much increased. It's like, we own a piece of Lee binding with this, he's done this and we got it
on paper. And I've always been a sucker for, a nice kind of box set of something.
I love a
band
good box
put
set.
out an album, and the collection sets are
these box sets, these collections, are
incredible,
just gorgeous. This first one is season 12. I mean, I wasn't actually going to buy it because I thought, well, I've got all the DVDs, right, and I've read the Target novels and everything else countless times. Do I really want to spend, best part of 40 quid or whatever it was on Tom Baker's first season? And the little voice in the back of me saying, "Why are you even asking that question? Of course you will." But it took another Doctor Who fan to tell me that he'd already bought it, and for Amazon to say they were in short supply for me to actually go out and get this. And I'm glad I did. But the thing is as well, because I kind of know that if I'm going to start with the first one, I'm then invested.
You've got to see it
in
through,
all of them. I've got to see it through, and that's a fair bit of cash. Not going to lie.
I remember ordering the set and then thinking, it's a lot of money, I'll cancel it. I better order it, or I'll cancel it. And I cancelled it about 3 or 4 times, and then I was like, nope, I'm going to get it. And then it came, and you open it, and it's like,
it's beautiful.
And the light was shining, and I thought,
it's like that. It's Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, and I thought I made the right decision here. And each one of them, it's it's a special little event.
Beautiful.
They are. Yeah, and it's nice to see a bit of a push again for physical stuff.
Definitely.
A couple of the Marvel shows are coming out on Steelbook and stuff, and because previously they were going to be streaming only, and now they're putting them out because I think they're starting to realise again. Well, to realise streaming doesn't really make much money, and physical media, there's an audience for it, and put it out in something shiny. And a Steelbook. I bought my first Steelbook for Power of the Doctor recently, and I thought, why have I not been buying these before? So, anything in a Steelbook now, I'm there.
You're there.
Loving it. Yeah. So, there's a question here from Time Rotor on Twitter, who's at Doctor Who fan 1988. What comes first on an image, the background or the characters, or is it a bit of how you're feeling on the day? Like when I start editing, sometimes I might start halfway through an edit, or sometimes I will work, sequentially through it, just sort of. It's kind of how the movie strikes you at the time. Yes, thanks.
Yeah, that is an interesting one, because normally I will make when I'm doing my other jobs, because I work for companies doing sort of like key art, it's called, like big posters for stuff.
I
will always start on the backgrounds, and then you work forwards and go, okay, that's got the perspective for that. Or it can be the case that you've got the images of the people and you want to sort of work backwards that way. It depends on which is going to be more important, I think. So you're either setting the scene or you want to make sure that the people are the one. With the collections, the first thing I will always do is the front cover, because that is the thing that it sort of like cascades from. So, for example, with season 20, I wanted to make sure that that was sort of it was an image of the Doctor which you've never seen before. That's always the case with them, or at least something that is the most doctory Doctor that ever doctored, if that makes sense. It's like with him, it's like, oh, we're going to make sure that this is prime Peter Davison. This is just exactly as you remember him. So
a bit of prime Davison.
I wanted to make sure it was the image from Snake Dance, and you know, he's holding the crystal and that kind of thing. And so as a result, it was like, okay, Snake Dance is on the cover. So I've now got to do other stuff inside. So with the booklet flap, that became the 5 Doctors. On the back, that was going to be, that was, you know, you're sort of like ticking off what's left, if that makes sense. Everything has to be sort of represented. So I know this is not really part of the question, but it's more a case of like, okay, when I'm doing these kind of artworks, more often than not, it's like Doctor first, then we do the other stuff that goes either behind it or around it, if that makes sense.
And would you say that that's because doing the Doctor is the most fun part for you?
It's the most. I think it's the one that is. It's definitely the most important. Is it the most fun? I think it's the most fun when it works, and you go, "Damn, I've nailed it! That is the most Doctor that ever doctored." So, yeah. I really like that. You know, there's a couple I've been sketching for other seasons that have not come out, and you're just like, what would I do for that season? What would I do for that season? Oh my god, there's the opportunity, and it's kind of annoying me. Not annoying, that's the wrong word. Now we're over halfway through. The options to do that are getting skinnier and skinnier. So I'm just like, what am I going to do?
I see a lot of things on social media where that you know, we get a lot of fan art out there, and they do like this is. I'm trying to word it the right way, but there's a lot of fan out there which imitates yours, but in an affectionate way, where they say, look, this is the next, you know, if Lee Binding was to do this, it might look like this or something. Here's my Lee Binding-esque approach to this story. And it seems to me that there's kind of like a benchmark, you know, the Lee Binding benchmark. That is where everyone aspires to be at that kind of level.
Yeah, I'd say, that's true. Yeah.
I mean, I
wasn't
find
a question attached to that. Sorry.
That, yeah, I know. You guys are just bigging up my ego something wonderfully today. Thank you.
Yeah, we do that.
What it. Thank you. I think it's. I mean, for me, it's incredibly flattering, and also incredibly sort of underlying that I'm doing something good. Because what it would be easy to do is like if I'd messed up. People will go, oh, this is how because Doctor Who fans are incredibly creative. Every single one. I don't know a fandom that is as creative as ours. You know, we will sort of go, oh, I'm really into the music. I really want to sort of like figure that out, and then learn how to play the piano in order to play Dudley Simpson scores. You know, people become artists, people become costume designers, all that kind of stuff, just because of their interest in a very small niche part of the show, if that makes sense. So the Doctor Who artists who are out there, I'm not going to say fan artists, I'm genuinely going to say artists who are out there who use that as a template. I've gone, okay, that is accepted. I like this. This is good. This works for me. I'm now going to do my version of it. And I'm just like, hell yeah, go wild. Love that for you.
Yeah.
Because it means that I've got it right.
Yeah.
It's inspiring as well, isn't it? Sorry, Jeff. I was just going to say, you know, because you're inspiring people to switch on almost, and maybe there are people who might not have even been involved in art if it weren't for your covers, kind of giving them a little push or inspiring them to take up a pen, even in Photoshop.
Yeah.
I don't know what the digital equivalent would be. Would you use a pen in Photoshop? I think you could use a pen tool, couldn't you? I don't know. I'm rambling
Yeah.
now. Sorry, Jeff.
Yeah,
go
use
on.
a pen.
Press
I
the
use the whack on.
P button.
That's it. Ah, there you go.
There's so much fantastic, like you said, Lee, just art out there, and also it's really nice to see someone in particular, whoever it might be, put their first piece out, and you think, oh yeah, that's good, there's something there. But then a year later, they've developed the skills, and
they've
then
got their own style,
a bit further after that, like. A guy in Australia we know, Cooper Hillier, he does some stuff. He did our artwork previously, and his stuff really grew in his confidence and the Photoshop usage and his composition work as well. And there's a guy called Joe Cook who did our banner and stuff at the moment. Lovely work, and it just
that was really nice. Yeah, I saw that on Instagram, and it was just like, damn, I wish I thought of that. That's a really nice lineup.
Yeah, I said to him, can you fit all of them in a Twitter banner?
Every doctor.
Or is that a no? And he said, well, I could do the new ones, and then I'll use the hexagons or whatever for the classics. I said that works for me.
Yeah.
And that was quite funny. He said, if you've got any ideas, I said, all the doctors. That's it. And I said, show me what you got. And he came back with that, and I said, yeah, brilliant, love it. Good. So that looked great as well. So as a fan, when you so I saw recently that they've scanned, is it 27,000 photos or something at 8K resolution, and they're going to start uploading them on the BBC website. So as a fan, did you get access to like the archive of stuff for work, and was that
the key
like incredible to to get into that and see stuff that people haven't seen in decades and people haven't seen at all? And what was that like?
Yes, it is incredible. It's not as sort of Raiders of the Lost Ark as you imagine.
Don't spoil my dreams. Don't spoil the image that's in my head. I'm keeping hold of it. I don't care what you say. It's glorious.
Do they not wipe your memory when you leave then? You've been here before, Lee.
It's kind of like
I haven't.
Who am I? What am I doing? I mean, that's just my day job. Anyway, most of the images are out there at some quality or other on the internet anyway. It just happens that you get them high res, and it is lovely being a part of that and having that sort of access and privilege, I think. Unfortunately, I think that every now and again I will get people just sort of asking for the same privilege, and I like, okay, I wish I could let you have this, but I literally do this for the BBC, and if you want to do a sort of mock-up for a cover of Tomb of the Sidemen, I don't think I can allow it. I'm really sorry.
Yeah, which is fair enough, I think, isn't it? Yeah,
But then there's this new archive, so maybe they'll get it in that way. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'm excited to see it all. Yeah. How many? So we had a lot of questions to put to you about the collection, which I'm sure is no surprise at all to you. And you probably saw them as well, Paul.
Probing, aren't they, than others?
What's the next one then? Just tell us what the next one is.
What's next?
Yeah.
But that was quite cleverly
it's an interesting
worded.
One.
Go on,
So, how many have you got on your system at the moment in, I guess, various stages? So, how far ahead is it all being planned, I guess? Let's say ones that are commissioned, not ones that you've kind of gone, oh, I'm excited to do that and are working on it at the minute.
I can honestly say there's only about 4 series that I've not touched. 3. No, I have fiddled with 1. So
fiddled with 1.
That's 1, not season 1. But yes. Yeah, but basically, I'll just sort of, I mean, whatever. Even if it's a case of like, I want to use that picture for the cover, and I've started, sketching over the top of it, then that's there. That folder exists.
Right.
So yeah, even the case with a Wilderness Year 1, just in case of emergencies, it's not commissioned at the moment, but just in case, that's pretty much done. If they pull that lever and go, we need to do this now, then that's there.
It's good to be ahead of yourself a little bit like that, and do it.
Bank it up.
Yeah. Random question that's popped into my head. What file size does an average collection art, completed thing take up on your drive?
I think they run to about 6 or 8 gig.
Oh, really? That's not okay. That's not too big, actually. Yeah.
Still images.
Bearing in mind, I'm dealing with like
video.
Yeah, it's true. So, yeah. People say it's funny when people say to me, "I need to send you a video. It's quite big." Okay, how big is it? About 120 meg. That's not big. That's not big, mate. I'm dealing with like 500 gig after every shoot, at minimum.
Yeah,
8 gig.
Still images are completely different. And I think I'm sort of basing that on a sort of like when I collect it to send it off, there will be sort of like offshoots, some sort of rough things that never make it, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but that's the package size. That's what you'd zip it up at.
Yeah, the finished piece. Yeah. What's been your easiest image to make?
Ooh.
Probably
not just from the collection, from anything.
Oh Lord. Interesting. I'll probably do collection because that's more recent in my head, and I can't remember stuff. So
that's
the archive, isn't it? There.
Yeah, exactly. That's when you're asking all those things I did earlier, I was like, no idea. I'm going to say probably season 24 was the easiest because I'm the most familiar with it, I think. And it was one of those that just sort of like emerged fully formed. It was there. It was happy. There was no tweaking. It just wanted to be in the world. So it was okay, you're here. That only took like a month and a half. Which normally they take 3 months. It was just sort of like chef's kiss.
Is there quite a lot of notes and feedback and stuff, or I get the feeling that you're quite well trusted now to just sort of effectively get on with things, and that they're not going to come back and you're going to have to rip it apart again. And
yeah, I mean, normally there are a couple of people who second eyes it and go, "Yep, sure, that's all good." But it's just me and a couple of other people really.
Right.
There's never any notes. Actually, no, there was some notes on season 20, and that was because we got a new brand person in place, and he was just like, "I just want to check on this," and it's like, "Okay, love you. You're just doing your job. Welcome to the team."
Don't do it again.
We all know that voice.
No, we're best friends.
Then you.
He's very lovely. He's very, very lovely, and he's very much trusting in what we do. So yeah, it's all good. So from that point onwards, I think it's all good. So yeah. Next question.
Isn't it? Go on then.
So
Frankenstein.
What's? Oh, no, hang on. I just want to know what's been your most challenging but rewarding image to do.
Ooh.
The one that you were thinking, yeah, bugger, and then when it was done,
you're like, whoa,
chuffed with it. Yeah.
It's probably one of the ones that started off black and white, because the vibe of it, I think, has always got to be the most colourful, exciting thing that you've seen. So probably, I'll probably say season 20 at the minute, because that is made up from at least 10 images for the front. It's sort of like the head's one thing, the hands are another. The hands were black and white. The costume was black and white, and that was different because you've got to make it equal and straightforward and all that kind of stuff. So challenge when it finally fell into place and went, oh, this looks real. That's when that was rewarding. It was difficult, but it wasn't the most difficult, I think. So I'll come back to that. if all of a sudden I show something out and go, actually, I did Day of the Doctor artwork that took.
Okay. Yeah.
It was like 5 months work, I think.
Really?
Oh wow.
And we did so many drafts. It was like, we got to get. Are we doing this bit of the story? How are we telling this? What's this? How does this work? And it went through so many different iterations, and then finally, when we sat down and went, just what? How do we do this? And Simon, the producer, who I've not got a chance to speak to up until that point, just went, "We are doing this," and it was like, oh, we were told we can't do that. Okay, let's do that then. So, so we did, and it came out really well. Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
That's a great poster.
I'm looking at it now, actually. It's a good one,
you just sort of mentioned a little bit about this, which is related to this next question. But which Doctor image was the most Frankenstein one for you?
They're all Frankensteins. There's not an easy one. I don't make it easy for myself. I think possibly, yeah, exactly. I mean, even the Tom Baker one, which was arguably the simplest, it was still a head swap on a different body with a different scarf and all this, because you kind of, like to say, you want the most Doctory Doctor that ever doctored, and you can't. Nobody ever took those pictures. Back in the day, we never had that. Yeah, exactly, and that's the point with the collection. And if you forgive me, sort of to sort of divert for a second.
No, go for
it.
The
idea for me with the collection is like, you look at the front and you go, I remember the ethos of this. I remember this excitement. I remember the kind of the colours and the shapes and all this kind of stuff. And slowly, as you go through the collection, it will be the case that it's like, oh, and this is a little bit more toned down in the kind of like the adventure of the booklet cover. It's more sort of, it's a snapshot of that moment, or the sort of like, oh, we're still getting the sort of the sense of adventure. And as you get into the disc art, it becomes a little bit more toned down until the point where you actually get to the episode itself, and it's like, oh, and this is so it's like a trick of the memory, if that makes sense. It's like this is boom, this is primal, this is your memory, and this is kind of the actual episodes. And I'm not saying that they're diminished in any way, shape, or form. It's more a case of like the memory of I'm doing it for nostalgia. It's that idea of how the excitement of it, and then you come to the actual thing and you go, this is still exciting, but in a different way.
And
that's a beautiful way to think about it. And I think you're absolutely right, Lee. It's now that you've explained it in such a way, I can see it, because I think the biggest reason why I did take the plunge, aside from being kind of nudged into it, is because it's exactly that on the cover. There's the excitement right there. It takes me back to a certain time, to the very first episodes of Doctor Who that I ever watched. Even before then, I think the Sontaran experiment and the Ark in Space were among the very earliest memories of Doctor Who, and the art evokes that on the season 12 box set. And you're right, and I think that's the thing, because even though you've seen the episodes themselves, and I have lots and lots of times, and that was the reason I'd hesitated, because I think what is new, what haven't I seen? Yeah, there's a few extra features and stuff like that, but essentially they're probably telling me stuff that I probably already know. So the artwork is a massive part of that pull. I don't want to call it a sell, even though it is, right? But it is a kind of pull. It's so brilliantly done. And now that you've explained some of the science behind it, I can see it even more. And I think you're even more cunning than I first imagined. In a nice way, obviously.
Of course. Thank you. Yes.
Of course.
Yeah.
A similar sort of thing, actually, in that case, then, when you were talking about the Genesis of the Daleks, you have a look at the booklet artwork. It's deliberately done in the style of an old Target novelization, or a little bit sort of more nostalgic. But when you get to later seasons, they tend to be a bit more neon. So it is the case of, it's still scratching that weird fan itch at the back of your head. Like, the Pertwee ones are a little bit more sort of Weetabix card, and all the Hartnell ones and the Drayton ones are black and white. So it has to be.
Yeah.
Is it that the fellow there, isn't it? Is that the one? Genesis of the Daleks. Look at that. The Doctor wrestling with it's almost like as well as Target. It's almost like the Frank Bellamy works as well, isn't it? It seems to be pulling off those to some degree.
Yeah. I mean, it is so nice to sort of like, I'm literally standing on the shoulder of giants. There are so many people, young and new, who are creating artwork, and everybody is so damn talented. And just sort of like having that sort of that legacy that has gone before you, and it's very sweet of you to say that I'm now there as well. But I hope that becomes part of history, and then there's so many people more inspired that way, because
undoubtedly
there's so much talent out there.
No, you can see it happening. Like I was saying earlier, with the Lee binding benchmark currently, that's where a lot of people are working towards. So, I mean, of those previous generation artists, then the people whose art you grew up with, who do you think has inspired you the most, if anyone?
Andrew Skilleter.
Oh,
Andrew Skilleter.
really?
100%.
Brilliant.
He taught me how to do lights. It was just...
Yeah.
The cover, I think I've mentioned this a couple of times when people have asked me, but the cover of the Crotons is possibly, I just stared at it for hours. It was like,
yes, same.
It's so good. And it was like, look at this thing in this sort of like environment with the shape and the colours and the shine and
geometric.
Just like,
yes,
absolutely. And so from that, I sort of like started looking at all his work, and I got the calendars and the way he paints Cybermen. It's so good. It's just he's a genuine talent. So it is that nice thing of every now and again we talk on Facebook, and I'm still just like, you do artwork. I love that.
He had some books out recently, didn't he?
Andrew Skilleter, yeah, he's there.
Yeah.
He had one out very recently, with his.
Saw those somewhere. Yeah, Lee, we've got some questions here from listeners.
Yes, we do. Our Twitter fans and others. Is it still Twitter? It's not really Twitter now. It's X. I can't get that into my head.
No,
Elon, what have you done, you knobhead?
It sounds wrong, didn't it? Do you want to do some of these ones, Paul?
Let's have a look. So, Mark Dodick would like to know what's harder to work with, space rocks or space trees?
This is an in-joke. I know, Mark.
I wondered if it might.
Basically, the reason being is sort of like he'll say, "What are you working on?" And literally, because I can't say, I will say, "Well, it's At one point, I was working on season 14, and it was the forest where Leela was, and it was like space trees. And then I was working on, I think, season 24, and I was doing something with a quarry. No, season 26. Sorry, I was working in the quarry for the booklet cover. It was like space rocks, and so he will always ask which one I'm working on, and you can genuinely boil down Doctor Who to two types of stories. Is it going to be space rocks or space trees?
There's another question here that just came in a little while ago before we started talking from Paddy Freeland, and he wants to know, how do you continue to look this good?
Look at that.
That is my husband. And
I did look at his bio and stuff, and I thought it doesn't. It does say annoyingly binding on it, and I thought
annoyingly binding.
Maybe it's just your mate.
Yeah. That's him. That's him. Lovely man. So much so I married him. So, yes.
There you go. That's got to be a reason. So,
well, he says nice things like that. So yeah.
We've also got Chris Russ 1 on Twitter. We've had that one already. Jace.
I know. Yeah. We sorry, I leaked that.
Here we go.
Early,
Jace at J. There's two Y's in there. TW. Asks, which Doctor outfit variation is your favourite one to work with? That's a good question.
That is a good question. And weirdly, I'm going to say Jodie's dark blue one, even though it's not hers, if that makes sense. Is it hers?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
kind of. I mean, it's not the character.
It's hers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because it was
we talked to Ray Holman last year, and
year before that, Jeff.
Was it a year before that?
Yeah, I've been doing this forever now, mate.
Yes, yeah. And he just made that blue coat. I can't remember why he did it. And then when he got the script for,
idea.
Yeah, and he got the script for Once Upon Time, and he phoned up Chris Gibbon and he said, I've got just the thing that you need here, and then they were able to use it. And he, a bit like you with some of your artwork, he thought, I'd really like to sort of invert it and make it. So he did it, and then they found a perfect narrative reason to use it. But yeah, it looks so cool, that one, doesn't it? It's great. Yeah.
Ray is adorable. I love Ray. It's sort of really talented person. And just love that costume. I think it looks so good on her. So
yeah. Yeah, it did. Yeah, love it. Have you done any artwork with it? Yeah, I can't think if I've seen it.
Only fan art. I did some stuff for. I got to say, I know I can't remember which one of you guys absolutely love Flux, but I was pretty much the same. Like every week, I was inspired by it, and was not going to do anything with it. It was just like, no. But I've got a real kind of thing about the TARDIS being invaded. I don't know what it is. I think probably watching The Awakening when the Malice turned up, because for me the TARDIS is always a safe space. It's the place that you run to. It's the end of the adventure. It's the thing. And when you've got something that just goes, oh, I'm here, and you just like, the safe space is not safe anymore, that really threw me. So with Flux, from the off, where the TARDIS is like falling apart and not doing what it should be doing, and just having coming out the floor, I was like, I need to do artwork of this. This is so yes. So yeah,
it's got to be done.
And then just carried on.
We both love Flux, didn't we?
Yeah,
it was,
we
talked to Chris about it, and
got my steelbook signed by
anything, and that we got anything that year, and it was that good was amazing. But Flux had so many great moments. I'm not sure I've seen your pictures. I might get you to DM them to us a bit later if you wouldn't mind. I'd love to see them. So there's a question from Lewis Frisbee here, who is Frisbee Louis 17809, just rolls off the tongue. Which modern series or episode would you most like to make art for? And you've just sort of hinted it a little bit there. But let's say to do it officially.
I don't know, because I've kind of I've got my favourite episodes, I think. Are we talking new series, was that?
Yeah.
21st century episodes, is that what you mean,
new
Jeff?
Series.
Well, I suppose new Who from 2005.
New Who.
I'm gonna say that I all of them, they're all good. I love them all. So, and I've done enough. I've done the website stuff for a lot of them, so I kind of like that's been ticked off in my head. I'm gonna say, like, I'll tell you some stuff that I wish I'd done, like any of Alice X Chang's steelbook covers. I just, oh my god, so beautiful. Sophie's are lovely as well. And I'm going to say the artwork for the first series of Jodie's, with the sort of the crystals all around them and the lightning and all that kind of stuff. The retouching on that, from a professional point of view, I was just looking at it and go, this is astonishing. This is how lucky are we to have this kind of artwork representing our show. It was sort of fantastic. It was gorgeous. So I wish I'd done that. With that, can I amend the question and just say I wish I'd done that?
That'll do.
There was some lovely 14th Doctor ones out earlier this week, weren't there?
Oh yeah, they just released some of those, didn't they?
Yes,
they were very nice.
Yeah, they were really exciting. I like those.
Yeah, David Tennant really rocking the Doctor Who hand, wasn't he? You know,
there was a lot of
got
that.
It now.
Yeah. Well, it's his second go round. I'd expect him to have it at one point, really. Now
he's an old pro by now, surely.
I'm a big fan of his reaching forward, because that's literally me every time every time I send an email without an attachment, I'm like, no! So
actually, that's the face to make, isn't it? Gesture. That's the face.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Right. Okay, so are we going to play the Grand Serpent's Asteroid?
Hang on.
Or we got more questions?
Paul,
go on.
We got one more question from Fraser that I'm sure you'd like to ask. Fraser always asked us to ask this of our guests.
Fraser Gregory, at Felix Fraser on Twitter. I think he lurks on pretty much every social media, so we'll just call him Fraser Gregory. So Fraser asks Lee, Mr. Binding, quarks or crotons?
Protons. I initially thought quarks, but no, protons. They've got great, because like I say, I meant to have a Brummy accent. They're kind of Brummy. They're space Brummies, and
protons are space Brummies. I love that.
Just I also love that kind of like with the first sort of era of Doctor Who, where they aim up here and they get here, and with the crotons you've got these beautiful bodies. And then some rubber skirts, and it's just like, you've nailed it in your own way. So protons.
There was something about it. Did you see the 5 Faces of Doctor Who? We around there, 1981, I think it was, wasn't it? Between Tom Baker and, but that was the first time I'd seen the crotons, and I must admit, I found them very, very scary indeed. They had this great big hose pipe snaking out thing, didn't they? That, you know, when you look at it now, when it's been vid-fired up and, you know, all the resolution details being put back in, and you can see the string that it's working on. But in that murky 525 line TV that we had back in 1981, it was brilliant.
Look,
you know?
look. All I'm going to say on that is the Crotons are a little bit basic, and they had to have a string holding up their thing because their dynamic was low powered. This is the thing with Doctor Who. There is a reason for everything if you put your
very
mind to
true.
it. So
yeah. Some
they weren't on Planet of the Gods
that you can cover it with.
Yeah, this is true. Right. Okay. So before we let you go, Lee, we have to play a game of our favourite game, the Grand Serpent's Asteroid. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen this before, but if you recall, at the end of Flux. Indeed. Right. So, what we are going to do...
Are you quaking in your boots?
Yeah, as with all our guests, as much as we love you, we are still going to put you on an asteroid where you will spend out the rest of your days in eternity contemplating the infinite blackness of endless space. However, we are not going to just shut the door and abandon you. We are going to give you certain things that you can take with you to try and eke out those days of loneliness and boredom and everything else, to try and bring some kind of variety into your eternal fate. So, with that in mind, we're going to ask you a few things. It sounds quite depressing, doesn't it?
Yeah,
let's not,
I think you covered it.
Let's not sugarcoat it, though.
Let's not think too much about it.
Let's not sugarcoat it. It's you know, it's a terrible fate. But as I said, we are quite empathic people. We do have a degree of compassion, so we will allow you certain things to take with you. However, only you, Lee, can make the choice as to what you're going to take and what you're going to leave behind. So, without any further ado, you are allowed to take with you one piece of artwork from your very own collection that you cannot leave behind. What's it to be?
Oh, that's weirdly egotistical. I know. I'm gonna no. And I'll briefly tell you for why. I don't like looking backwards. If I look backwards, that's the moment where I start picking holes in stuff. So it's very much that thing of what drives me forward is looking back and going, okay, I could do better. And I still feel like that. So I'm not going to take the only one that I will take for sentimental reasons is the Day of the Doctor artwork, because I'm so detached from it now. It's literally a decade old. And, you know, that 5-month process has sort of like evaporated in my head a little bit. So, yeah, I think maybe that one, but I wouldn't look at it, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Well,
interesting.
I'll let you take you know, one of the pads. Is it a Wacom pad or something, so you can do some drawing?
Wacom pad,
I think that's that's a fair bending of the rules.
Yeah, let's go with that.
To do.
Yeah, okay,
you know,
okay. Is there somebody else's artwork that you would take, perhaps?
Oh God! If given an opportunity, I take it all. This is the thing; it's all wonderful. I mean, I've got Colin Howard's book of artwork on my desk, and I will just skim through that when I've got a moment. It's gorgeous, you know. Mr. Skilleter, his work, Skilleter, all. Yeah, just like everybody, even Carrie, who does the Ninth Doctor audio stuff, her stuff is gorgeous. Yeah. Tom Webster's artwork. I'm just, you know, the names that are coming to the top of my head. I just want to take it all.
Take it all. Okay.
So it's like none of mine, absolutely none of mine, but everybody else's 100%.
Okay, all right. I'm not sure we can allow it, but we appreciate the sentiment. And sure.
I'm just going to ask another question.
You've got infinite power. You're literally putting me on an asteroid. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, but we've got to have some rules, Lee. We've got to. What's the world without rules? Huh?
I'd have let you take it, Lee, on a hard drive, but Paul, you know,
just compress it down to like a 20 terabyte folder or something.
Yeah. I just thought of another question, really. Do you think you'd ever put out a book of all your artwork?
Brilliant question.
Like on a Kickstarter or get BBC Books on it?
Maybe. I think with the collection stuff, eventually when we finish, I'll check with the BBC and say, look, can I do this? But, you know, I'm in a difficult position where my artwork, as soon as I send it off, becomes copyright BBC. So you can't really do that. So let's say maybe I'll go and have a word with the lovely people who work there, and it would be quite nice just to sort of like go, oh yeah, here's the original artwork that comes from, and you know, this is made up from these pictures and all that kind of stuff. It might be sort of fascinating for some people.
It'd be lovely, yeah. I saw that Big Finish are doing a book of collected artworks from across their whole time. I think it's coming out for the 60th, which is a lovely idea. I'm sure there's probably some of your stuff in there as well. But I think so. Just drop that little little gem of an idea out there for you, and then I'll take 10%.
I'll dedicate it to you, Jeff. It's a good idea.
Yeah, lovely. I'll take that.
Okay, so back to our eternal prison, facing the eternal blackness of infinite space. You are allowed to take with you, Lee, one science fiction film.
Yeah.
So one sci-fi film. What's it going to be?
One science. Oh, that's so hard. I love. Okay. Let's take a franchise, or is it just one film? Does it have to be sci-fi?
Allow you to take it.
No. Well, we've got fantasy coming up next, but it doesn't necessarily have to be either. You can pick one film of. We're basically looking for genre of films.
Okay.
You know,
I'll allow you to take a franchise. I let Chris Chibnall take all of the Back to the Future films because we classed them as one thing.
That's very good. I like that. I'm trying to think which ones. I'm trying to think what would bring me the joy. Yeah. Love that. I'm gonna break the rules again. I'm gonna say I want to take the Addams Family Values because it makes me laugh so much, and it's such a good film. It's well written. It's hilarious, and it makes me feel good.
Lovely.
We can do
that's
that.
A great film.
We should probably open that one up then to just a film.
A film.
Yeah. So we've done horror films before, and okay, all right. So let's do that then. You're allowed to take with you one Blu-ray collection. So that's essentially one series of Doctor Who that's been out there within the Blu-ray collections. But only one this time. And I'm not allowing any bending of that rule. It is literally just one of them. That's it.
I will.
No, you won't. Yeah, I'm going to allow just one. Just one. Rah!
It could be one that hasn't come out yet. You don't have to tell us which
one.
I
was going to say, I want the next season. Screw your rules.
I was going to say,
folded in. What's that? Foiled again by you pesky kids. God. Darn it. Okay,
I am so excited about what's coming up that I would like to. I'd love to see the next series.
You tell us when we stop recording, and then we can
honestly,
tease the audience.
Now.
Yeah. Just put your thumb over that red dot.
Okay. Final one for the Grand Serpent's Asteroid then. It's going to be one musical album. What's you going to take? And we'll even give you the kit, the speakers, and everything to play it on.
But no power.
No power, yeah. I just have to look at it and remember. Yeah. What am I listening to at the minute? I probably would want something really chill and low key, just like not necessarily a musical album. I'd like some sort of like a vibe, if that makes sense. I'm breaking your rules again. I'm so sorry, Paul. But literally, when I'm falling to sleep and when I'm sort of like trying to shut my brain up from all those Doctor Who things, I'll just listen to a little bit of classical music before I go to sleep. And that sounds really fucking wanky, and I do apologise to anybody, but it's the only thing that I can just sort of like go, okay, the day is ending. This is what I need to do. So let's go with that. And I could probably use it to work as well if you give me a Wacom tablet as well.
Yeah, I was setting you up quite nicely.
I think so.
Really.
Yeah. Well,
thanks. Am I basically working for you guys on this asteroid now? Am I just producing artwork for you guys?
Yeah, we do need some new banners and thumbnails, actually.
Yeah, we'll just put like a space-time funnel in there. You just shoot it up and it'll go and spit it out the other end.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Nice. Well, I look forward to my horrible future in the dark.
Well, we do like to paint a picture, Lee, that's for sure.
Yeah. I think we need some theme music on this.
We
bit,
do. We keep saying we've got to get a little theme music or something.
Yeah. What if someone will write us a little ditty?
Yeah, we need to interview one of the Doctor Who composers. We need to interview Murray Gold and then just get him to write us a nice little ditty. Because I'm sure he'd do that for free. Honestly, I'm sure he would.
Yeah, with no royalties.
Exactly.
Not much busy wise.
No. I don't know what he's doing at the moment, but I'm sure he could fit us.
Yeah, I haven't seen him around.
No.
Just on that, actually, how excited are you for the next series of Doctor Who, and what generally is coming up? I know you've got a bit of an insight into what's going on, but as a fan, how excited are you on a scale of 1 to 17.5?
Oh God, I'm I'm so excited because not necessarily because I know bits of it, but just it looks so good. The trailer alone was just so exciting, and this is a trailer. This is like a 2-minute thing for 3 episodes that we're getting, and it's just like, look at that. And then we get a series afterwards. It's like, oh my God, I'm thrilled. I'm so thrilled. Brilliant. So excitement cannot be measured. Basically, it is unquantifiable.
There you go. There speaks a true Doctor Who fan. Absolutely.
Yeah, you're one of us. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yay.
Well, that brings us to the end of our chat here for this episode of Who Corner to Corner. As always, we could probably just keep talking, but people have got stuff to do, kids to put to bed, and dinners to have, and stuff like that. So, Mr. Binding, thank you very much for joining us tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Absolute delight talking to you.
We can't wait to see what comes next from your creative mind, your wonderful mind.
Thank you. It's been a real honor, and I really, really enjoyed myself. So thank you both. Good. And thank you everybody for the questions as well.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, everyone. Yeah, we always appreciate the questions. So yeah, we hope you've enjoyed our chat. We're sure you have, and we'll catch you next time on Who Corner to Corner.
Until next time, bye for now.